Hi everyone, Evan here at the McChronicle for May 15th, 2020, where the future starts today. Bank of Canada yesterday put out the predictions for mortgage arrears. Better Dwelling had a great analysis on it. Link in the description box below. Bank of Canada. Mortgage arrears expected to triple, but could be worse. By the way, mortgage arrears is 90 days or more past due, so keep that in mind. But as for this prediction, Bank of Canada could have watched my predictions from about 2 years ago under my old YouTube name and come to the same conclusion, so keep that in mind. And in their prediction, they specifically mention, if it wasn't for all the government and central bank support measures, rate cuts, QE, bond buying, mortgage deferrals, that it all would have been a lot worse. Now on to the meat and potatoes of this. The Canadian mortgage arrears apocalypse was supposed to be really, really bad. The Bank of Canada expected the mortgage arrears rate to rise 48% in Q1 when compared to the previous quarter. By Q4 of 2020, the arrears rate was forecasted to be 2.11%, over 8 times the end of last year. From there, it would start falling lower, settling at 0.5% by Q4 2022, still twice as high as the end of last year, but a lot lower than the peak. Now, one rebuttal to this, I'm going to get out of the way right now. Evan, low rates are going to reflate things again. We'll have a look at Canada's debt service ratio. Here's a chart on screen here of the household debt service ratio in Canada. Q3 2019, it hit an all-time high. Again, it isn't a rates problem. We found the real kryptonite that central banks, the governments can't overcome. That's unemployment. You take real income out of the economy, all the problems start coming to the surface. Our big problem, as you know in Canada, is excessive debt loads. Virus was the trigger, debt loads are the cause. Y'all know that. And what's the new forecast? Here we go. The BOC's model now only shows minor upticks in mortgage arrears until Q4, where it jumps 33.33% from the previous quarter. It eventually peaks out at 0.79% in Q3 2021 at about 3 times where it is today, before falling and settling to a rate of 0.39% by Q4 2022. That's still more than 50% higher at the end of last year, but better than the 8-fold increase if uncontrolled. It's likely still the largest arrears in Canadian history, just not as big. Now let's go back to that last part for a second. Read the revised forecast by the Bank of Canada very closely. It peaks at 0.79% in Q3 of 2021. In that, what they're predicting is they're giving you the V-shaped recovery narrative that I've debunked time and time and time and time and time again. Remember, when you fall into arrears, this is always from a problem 12 months before, namely from the unemployment spike that we're going through right now. Scott Theriault, Doug Hoyes, the rest of the folks at Hoyes Michaelis always mention this themselves. Clients who come in to see them, they always say they should have seen them a year or two ago when the problems really started. Now the typical situation of when a homeowner goes to see them, I'll leave the experts to that. All we can say is, one missed payment becomes 2 missed payments, becomes I'll miss something else to make the mortgage payment, and round we go. Now, ironically enough, go 1 year back from Q3 of 2021. Where do we go? Q3 of 2020, when all those mortgage deferrals are slated to end. So what they're saying is, mortgage deferrals end, V-shaped recovery, everyone's back at work, we're all going to be fine again afterwards, we go on our merry way, everything will be good again. Now look, first of all on that, here's what I can tell you. Show me a data point in the Canadian economy, and I can tell you in rate of change terms when the peak was. The peak in rate of change was between the 4th quarter of 2017 and the 3rd quarter of 2018. The peak in the economy was around about 2 years ago, 21 months before we even knew what this virus was or where it even started or whatever. So all this has been building up for a very long time. It just needed something to trigger it off. Unfortunately, it was a big pandemic like this. But The problems are there the whole time. They were all to see. It was a little pin in the bubble, and away we go. And before we go, I just need to mention one point here. When everyone talks about this unemployment spike, and oh, it was only caused by the virus. Remember this. When was the bottom in the unemployment rate in Canada? It was in Q2 of 2019. Pretty much 1 year ago today. 1 year ago today was when unemployment bottomed in Canada. And whether we had a virus, whether we didn't have a virus, it was going to have to be reported that unemployment was starting to go up year over year in Canada, no matter what happened. Okay? So whether it was now, whether it was even 6 months from now, all of this that's happening now was going to happen anyways. Okay? And one thing that predicted all this? The yield curve. The yield curve inversion, once again, got it exactly right, and its record remains undefeated. Best place to go ahead and leave it. Smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, follow both my accounts on Twitter, and as always, my name is Evan. This is the McChronicle, where the future indeed does start today.